Hallelujah, brothers and sisters and everyone in between. Welcome. Welcome to church. It's Good Friday.
I was about to say, not on Good Friday, though.
And we are here to talk about a delightful book. I'm Mara. This is my channel. And we're going to start. I think you've seen almost everyone here before, but we're going to start with a little intro and testimony. Just who you are, what your channel is, and whatever you'd like to share about your spiritual background. So I'm Mara. I'm an ex-fundy evangelical. Don't really identify as anything in particular at this point, but I definitely have read a lot of the Bible.
I am Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany. I am also an ex-fundy evangelical and have read the Bible multiple times all the way through and took Bible classes in undergrad. I don't know what I am right now. I'm like a theist.
There you go. Unaffiliated.
Unaffiliated.
Hello, everyone. I'm Marines from the channel. My name is Marines here on YouTube and on TikTok. I also grew up evangelical Christian, very conservative household. It was an immigrant household and conservative Christian. So
ooh, that's a 1-2 punch.
Do anything. Also read Bible multiple times. And also, I think relevant to this conversation, I am an expert in Stephenie Meyer. I have recapped all of the Twilight series chapter by chapter, like literally went chapter by chapter through that entire series. So
you know her writing better than you know your own at this point.
Correct. I can spot a Stephenie Meyer sentence from a mile away.
Am I next?
You're up.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley from Bookish Realm. My religious background is kind of complicated. I started off going to school with Nation of Islam. And
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
A lot of people don't know that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then ended up at private Christian schools. Also grew up amongst Pentecostals. So I'm just confused. That's pretty much it's a lot of confusion that I'm still trying to unpack now. So that's pretty much where I'm at.
Hi, I'm Rachel from Raised with Rachel, and I grew up extremely fundy. I went to Assemblies of God churches. So fun. I actually have evidence.
I did too.
I have evidence. This is a videotape from 2000 of me participating in a lovely production at church called The Glory and the Fire, where they would have people either go to heaven, as I did. You die on stage and you either go to heaven or you go to hell. I went to heaven, but some people portrayed people. Oh, my sister's here. Oh my God. And she's funny. She probably can hear me. Hold on.
Oh no.
I spent a lot of time in Assemblies of God churches also.
Oh, so fun. Did you do Glory in the Fire?
I've been to one.
Yeah, so
been to hell houses. Are they the same kind of vibe?
It's
very similar.
Yep. But then some people in the Glory in the Fire commit killing themselves, and then they get dragged off to hell by the literal devil on stage. And children are all present. It's really great. I also have my 8th grade yearbook from Fundy schools where I was taught a Becca curriculum.
Oh yeah, Becca.
Oh wow. Man, so
I did that too, man. Middle
you can
school.
tell this is a very carefully crafted panel to represent religious trauma or diversity, as well as expertise in the writings of one Stephenie Meyer, who we will get to eventually. But the reason I suggested this was because there has been a TikTok conspiracy going around. This book was published anonymously, but the description at the back says Rebecca Morrow is a pseudonym for a New York Times bestselling author. Like, that's the whole author description.
Yep.
And so there has been conspiracies about who this person might be. And the big one I saw on TikTok was it's Stephenie Meyer. So we'll get there in a little bit. But first, before we get there, let's just talk about this. Let's just have a little book club time. Who would like to describe what Corinne is about?
Nobody.
Sorry.
Nobody.
Just I saw this comment from Priscilla.
Oh, Priscilla, did you dirty? I'm sorry about that.
Oh my God.
Oh, God.
What interesting times. I would call them fun, but I can't.
That would be a lie. And they taught you not to lie.
It's true.
So, Corinne, what's it about?
It is about a young woman who grows up in some unnamed fundamentalist religion. And when she is a teen, she starts falling for a guy from her church that she ends up living in his family's basement because her father leaves her family and they fall on hard times. So they end up moving in with this other family from the church and living in their basement. And so Corinne, the titular character, falls in love with Enoch, whose name we hear approximately 2,500 times in this entire book.
Oh my gosh!
This book would be half the length if we just control
took Enoch out. Yeah.
They end up falling and sinning when they have 5-second sex one time. It's really just in out.
Does it even count?
I don't know, because she didn't feel anything. It was a pinch and then it was nothing. Literally a pinch and then nothing.
Just the tip.
But after this happens, after the in and out happens, Enoch feels really guilty and he self-reports to the church. But he's repentant, so he is allowed to stay. While Corinne says she's sorry, but they can tell that she's not. So she is booted from the church.
She was sorry in more ways than one after that 5-second in and out.
It's that Jezebel spirit.
You're sorry about a lot of things.
Yeah.
So because she has been, what do they call it? It's not excommunicated. When you're kicked out of the church.
Disfellowshipped?
No.
I don't remember.
He's using a term. Yes, I forget now. I finished this book 30 minutes ago. Anyways, she's booted from the church. And she decides that, she just never goes back. She decides that she's going to be of the world. She goes to college and she gets a job. And eventually she moves back to her hometown in Kansas and reconnects with this guy, Enoch. And the rest of the story is just us watching them reconnect and build a second chance sort of romance relationship. Really, what I want to know is this a romance?
No.
Well, let's start there because
Sorry,
I think some people.
Sorry, I found the term. It was cast out.
Oh, that's right.
Cast
Oh, yeah.
So, thank you.
That's a great place to start. Of is this a romance? Also, the comment section, you guys are wild out, which I'm enjoying.
It was 5 seconds. That was not an exaggeration.
Yeah. Is this so this was sort of the way it was talked about, and why I even thought about reading it was that people did talk about it like a romance, and I was like, okay, I could get into that. I have a question. This was a very unromantic romance. If it was
very traumatic.
When it ended,
I was not romantic.
I didn't look up genre, so when it ended, I said, "Wait, was that a romance? And if so, was that the worst romance I've ever read in my life?"
Yes,
a lot of my
if it was a romance, then yes.
I just feel like I don't a lot of my reaction to this is sort of like a question mark because I don't know what this was trying to do. I feel like if I knew what it was trying to do, I would have a better sense of if it did it effectively. I'm confused by it.
I have a theory. I was telling Mara, this is my theory. My theory is that whoever wrote this made a similar choice to Corinne, and this is her trying to justify it as a positive choice. And that's why it's being positioned as a romance. But I am not on board with this as a romance.
How
I agree.
tragic.
My-
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
my
going to mute
theory.
myself.
No, it's
My theory
It's
is that this person, assumedly a woman, did this thing, this whole 5-second sex thing. God, I hope my sister can't hear me. And then decided to write a book about what if I got back with that guy? What do I think would have happened? And instead of like investigating the issues with the religion she grew up in, she was just like, but what if we had a happy ending? And I'm like, but why do we need to explore that at all?
also, how is this a happy ending? Because you
It's
didn't get out.
not.
You're
It's
just
like
back
one of the
in
most
it.
bleak endings I've ever read in all my
It
days.
was deluded. She was happy, and the rest of us were confused.
No, I think that moment for me where I felt like literally when I got to the part where she was like, he was at church and she was in the house alone.
In
I
the
said,
bed.
you never got away. And I think in that
Yeah.
moment, she realized I still never got away from all of this nonsense. I'm
Yes.
still stuck.
Yes. And so that's why in my most generous reading of this, like if this was purposeful and it was made to be bleak in a way where you end it and you're like, oh my God, this person is still stuck. Like,
Mhm.
wow, that was effective. But I'm not entirely sure that that's what this was going for. But then
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm like, how can you write a wedding scene where she's basically disassociating and
Yes.
then that's romantic? Like that had to be purposeful, right?
Mhm.
I
The
don't
only
know.
I can't
don't know.
tell.
Because I can't tell because the thing is that like I know people who like would think, yes, this is romantic, and the best part is that maybe one day she'll return to the church.
But like to your point though, I do think the most generous reading I can give of this is that it's meant to be like the end of The Graduate, where it's not supposed to be a happy, like it has the trappings of like, oh, you know, they're together, but it's that long shot of them realizing like, oh shit, what have we done? That's the most generous reading I think we could
Mhm.
give of
Mhm.
there being some kind of textual awareness of like, you are never getting out of this. You are
Mhm.
trapped here. This is what you are stuck with.
I think that she was okay with it though, but me as a reader, I think that's where I was like, girl, you did
Yeah.
all of this fighting to get away and you still never got out. Like it felt like a horror. It felt like a
Enoch's
horror.
ex-wife is
ex-wife. What? Yeah,
Natalie and Shannon are the
Yes, and became a lesbian.
they were the only happy ending in this because they actually got out.
Yeah.
I also like question a lot. Oh my God, the intention. That's why it's like, I don't know, so confused in my head. Some of the commentary, because the thing that this did best was capture some of the pieces of the experience of growing up in a fundamentalist sort of setting. Like there were moments that I was like, ripped from my childhood headlines,
Yes.
like directly on the page, honestly. But then there were times where it felt like it wasn't so much commentary as it was sort of doubling down on some ideas. Like everything it had to say about sort of like sex and sexuality didn't feel like commentary as much as it felt like reaffirming the like bad things that this character had learned.
Yeah,
And so it was like
Corinne never has like a, I hate to say, come to Jesus moment. Like there was a moment where adult Corinne, I wrote this down, said, what had she allowed to happen? And I was like, what you allowed to what do you mean what you allowed to happen? Corinne, leave. Well, you didn't allow it to happen either time. You were put in this position. Why? I and then she never, I thought that we were gonna have a conversation where she's like, wait, it wasn't me. I was put in this position. And we did not. And we did not.
No. I don't know. Let's see here. So what's the plot? That's another very good question.
There is no damn plot.
There's not really
she comes back home. she reconnects with Enoch, who is now divorced because his wife, years into their marriage, realized she was a lesbian, and it took her which this I thought was an accurate problem, that like it took her so long to realize because she was never taught that women were supposed to enjoy sex, and neither was he, so they didn't realize anything was wrong for a long time, which is like, yeah, that's but yeah, and then they like the last third of the book is mostly them having sex.
Yes.
No, literally. And very uncomfortable and horribly described.
The least sexy
she describes a
sex
man
you
as
can
just,
imagine.
he's thick. He's a block. And I'm like, oh,
A
girl,
square.
like, oh, he's a square. Like,
It reminded me of reading sex scenes from Joe Abercrombie in the First Law trilogy, honestly, which are like grimdark fantasy, and they're not supposed to be sexy sex scenes. And I was like, this reminds me of reading Joe Abercrombie
they
sex
were
scenes.
not.
But
And hearing her say, Enoch, 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 Enoch. I'm like,
Oh my God.
Enoch Miller. I was a little sad she wasn't saying Enoch Miller. That would have been.
That's a name I'll never forget.
I feel really bad for any actual Enoch Millers out there, because this book is besmirching your good name.
I honestly we'll get to this too, but because of the sex scenes, I had a moment, which I sent you guys in chat, was like where I was like, was this written by a man?
I think that's a question.
Sex scenes, I was like, I mean, what if it was a man who wrote this? Because there's a way that like all of that is described, the body is described, sex is described, even like when they're supposedly enjoying it. I'm like,
It's
are they?
Hard on the supposedly. Hard.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I mean, I feel like I would be surprised if it, I mean, maybe the sex scenes make me think could be.
It would make more sense for the sex scenes to be written by a man.
Yeah. But like the problem with that is just that like a lot of the insights into the impact of things like purity culture on women specifically feel like they were written by a woman, but I don't know. Also, the sex scenes could be written weird because like a lot of times that type of purity culture, people sort of have a hard time being in their bodies. And so it might make it hard to write a sex scene, to be honest. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it felt like somebody who feels like they deconstructed, but actually we're reading the evidence that they have not fully deconstructed.
That I agree with.
Yes. 100%.
Yep.
It's like, I think you need to give this to your therapist, and your therapist will have some really important next steps of where to go in your treatment plan.
Exactly.
Exactly. I like this now under a list of books of like should have gone to your therapist and not been published.
Should have stayed in the drafts.
Yeah.
Which honestly, that's an argument in favor of this being Stephenie Meyer, because I would argue that Twilight should have gone to her therapist too.
Well, I don't know if she would have gotten to continue to write them, because she may have been with, got some grippy socks after her therapist read that of like, what is going on, Stephenie?
Yeah.
The writing style I also found to be not to my taste, but very distinctive. Like it was going for something. I don't know that I liked it.
Yeah.
It was a choice, a capital C choice.
Yeah.
This is not related to that. Sorry. I just want to ask, have any of you experienced a man who grew up in a fundamentalist culture who was like Enoch at all?
Absolutely not.
I don't think it's not possible. He is not possible. Not a man who continuously wants to go back to the church. I don't see how he's possible. Who is he? He's no, like, that's impossible. I just don't understand.
Yeah, I had an ex-boyfriend that was kind of like him, to be honest.
But he was more like self-deprecating than he was coming for you and your like.
It was both.
Then like that's not Enoch then,
but he wouldn't, but like the me would be like less explicit. Like in hindsight I can see that part, but like he wouldn't focus on it that way. But I did have an ex-boyfriend that was a little bit like,
it does not make sense to me how Enoch was not at all trying to convert her. and that was like an ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I won't.
Yeah.
And then he didn't. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop where it's like, this whole time I have been trying to convert you, and it didn't happen. And I was like, that's impossible.
I think the book ended before they had kids, and then he was going to.
That's an argument in favor of this being sort of like a romance or a romanticized version of some story where like the man and the woman do figure it out. They get back together, and he gets to maintain his faith and stay in the church, and she gets to stay out, and they lived happily ever after. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's why I thought that it was like that, somebody's fantasy of what if we did work out, and to everyone else it's like, well, this is horrifying. I'm glad your fantasy is happy for you. The rest of us are dying inside.
Yeah. It had that flavor of like, oh, look at this man who conspicuously absent of like misogyny that you would expect from somebody in that situation.
Yeah.
Very bored with her pleasure, even though like he has been indoctrinated in all of these ways. He was just like, oh, okay, cool, in like a way that speaks to that sort of flavor of like a fantasy. Like he just immediately finds the clit, and it's like cool. And it's like,
good job, Enoch Miller. What a
Lara, don't you say that name.
Well, I mean, it was very drilled into my head, so I feel like that's how
It
he wants to be
definitely
addressed
was.
in all contexts. Like, I was surprised he never stopped her in mid-climax saying, "My name is actually Enoch Miller." I know you're saying Enoch, but nobody calls me Enoch.
Between her saying Enoch Miller, and what did he call her, sweetie?
Oh,
No.
yeah.
No.
Between that and sweetie.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, he's like a Bible boy
Ken doll.
but like a thick one with a block body. But,
and fat fingers and two perfect pink lips
and
that are
big
thick.
little eyes.
Oh gosh.
But he's too, I didn't quite think about it, but you guys are totally right. He's too soft for that kind of patriarchal culture. Like that's not the kind of, that's like one of the saddest things about that environment is that it like takes it like really knocks out any kind of softness out of men in a way that's very tragic.
There is simply no reality in which a man who grew up in a fundamentalist sect like this has his wife leave him for another woman and then does not grapple with feeling like his masculinity has been, completely demolished by women. There is no.
I mean, that's probably true.
That is how it works in fundamentalist culture.
I mean, I do want to say I don't think it's true that like there's never any softness left, but I do think that most of the people who still have it eventually deconstruct, at least to a certain degree.
That's been my experience, is like, I think about all the guys that I knew in evangelicalism and any ones that are like, especially as you age and as they become the patriarchs of their own families, there's just no room for them to be soft or gentle. I don't know what, like, I'm not getting the right word, but just that they're not always just being dominant.
Yeah. I think the thing that like doesn't match for me is not that this is not a person that Enoch could be. It is sort of like the fastness of the way that it happens that feels like a very romanticized version. And the lack of like friction in the story, I think, is a huge part. Somebody asked earlier, like, what was the plot?
Great question.
And the thing is that it's a lack of friction, but it's not that they don't have problems. They do, but it's like this sort of like talking around them that happens over and over. I don't feel like we actually had like an honest conversation where things came to a head. Like they would sort of like yell at each other and then like back down to, but I love you, I love you, I love you. So it never really felt like we had like true stakes or true fiction. So this version of Enoch, when we got him, felt a little manufactured. I'm definitely not saying that this version of this man could never exist with like time and deconstructing and therapy and like,
but one that goes back to the church and that never tries to convert her. Cause I didn't even think about that, but y'all are totally right. There's no world in which this guy is not constantly trying to get her back in the church if he is still a true believer. Like that, I just don't believe at all.
I'm, I was so on board with this book for the first portion, for the beginning chapter. I was like, this is cool, because I felt like it was capturing like a the experience so well, and there was something about the writing that was like very intimate in terms of like how it was setting up a character study. But then the further we got on, the more there was this repetition. I'll tell you, when I broke, there were these like back-to-back micro chapters of them holding hands multiple times. It would be like chapter 19, and we sat together and he held my hand. Chapter 20. And then the next Friday we sat together and he held my hand. Chapter 21. And then the next I shit you not, it was like 3 or 4 back-to-back chapters of them just holding hands. And I was like, oh.
I wish you were lying. Why was it written like that?
Well, I'm guessing because when you're growing up in that, like, that feels so taboo that it's a big deal, and that is your buildup, right? It's like, it is these little tiny things. And so I don't know, like, I thought that felt true to like the way that felt. It was boring to read, but I did think it was an accurate portrayal of how that kind of thing would happen,
as well, like as a teen, to like have that like be really important. Like, it wasn't the emotions, it was the telling of the story. Like the third time we got the micro chapter that was just like another like holding the hands, I was like, this third is strong. I've been lost.
Yeah, the writing in general was a struggle for me.
Just not good. Just very sad. Do not like. I don't have any other words.
Yeah. So to round out book review time, would you recommend this book?
Absolutely not.
Because I found myself weirdly conflicted. I was like, it's not good, but I am weirdly compelled to continue reading this.
Yeah.
I think for me, emotionally, it was so painful reading it, because watching them romanticize something that literally to me read as a tragedy it was painful to read it, because you can just tell, just going through the process of their relationship, it was never going to work. And I just wanted her so badly, like how isolated she felt and how disconnected she felt from the church. I think for me, I wanted her, and this could be just my personal feelings and I'm projecting it onto her, I wanted her to get out. And so when she just kept pushing with this relationship, and then it confused me, because I'm like, well, you're describing this man in the most unattractive way. I'm like, if I'm reading a romance, like, I want to think about the fact, like, okay, all right, okay, it may not be realistic,
even if it's not for me, I'm like, I can tell you're into it.
Sis, I see what you're working with. I'm sitting here the whole time, like, but what are you working with? A cinder block? Like, what is this? It just felt so. I think I, as a reader, felt so disconnected, and there was a lack of empathy for her and for Enoch, to the point where I'm like, it was just painful. And especially when I got to the end, I was like, this is just, the shower scene just, I was processing books for my job while I was listening to the shower scene. Y'all, I kid you not. I'm in the middle of labeling a book, and I just stop and just sit there. And someone's like, are you good? I'm like, I'm perfectly fine. It's just the book I'm listening to right now. I'm just... I can't in good faith recommend this book. I could talk about it, but I can't say, you know what, I think you should actively pick this book up. I can't do it.
Would, if I recommend it, I would be like, I have a book for you, a psychological thriller with a dash of horror about a woman trapped in an impossible situation. Like,
it feels like a spiritual horror novel.
It does.
Yeah.
That's a good word for it.
That's what it is. It's spiritual horror.
It's a horror in my life. Hold this up and with a straight face say, I have a romance for you to read.
So if we're judging it as a romance, it's a 1 star and a tragedy.
100%.
I'm trying to give it the benefit of the doubt that I don't know that it's actually meant to be one. I'm hoping that that's not the case. And I did find it it held my attention.
Yes.
Not because I liked it, but it was interesting.
It was
and tragic,
readable. Like, I was like,
what is going on? Yeah, I mean, for me as a romance, it's awful. I don't like the writing really, but I do think that it pretty effectively shows you what it's like to grow up in that, you know? So I guess I'm like, to me, the things that I do like about it is how it effectively portrays the experience of growing up in this kind of a fundamentalist culture
Mm.
and the themes that it's trying to I don't like the where it goes with them, but kind of the underlying themes. Those are like, to me, I think I gave it like a 2.5 star.
Yes.
I don't know.
Same.
That's what I would do. 2.5
Yeah.
is where I would do. I think it very accurately also captures her early young voice and like being
Yes.
trapped in sort of like
Mhm.
that situation, and her observations about other people in the church, I thought was really effectively communicated at the beginning. The longer it went on, the worse that got.
Her
Yes.
talking about using bathroom breaks to get out of service was the most relatable thing I've ever
Relatable.
heard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, me too. We're all Corinne in a way.
We used to go walk down the street.
You know
I
what?
used to be the excuse to walk down the street. I gotta go take Ashley outside real quick. My mom used to take me outside. We go walk down the street. Just go walk.
Oh, man.
But see, what's funny? My mama was a rebel from the get go though, because like it was a small church. Like no makeup,
Mhm.
no pants, no earrings.
Mhm.
Mom used to go beat to the gods and would wear a pantsuit.
Love that.
I'm like, what? And no, she wasn't down with it from the jump. But I think for me as a kid, I was just confused. I was
Yeah.
confused about
Yeah,
everything.
my mom was the same. We were saying no pants, no like
Mhm.
doing your eyebrows, no makeup, no cutting your hair,
Wow.
sort of thing. But my mom was like, she wasn't like that. She was subtly rebellious. Like we didn't have pierced ears, but we had like multiple bracelets, just like gold shining, which was a huge. So she would do like little things. She would let us wear like pants on the weekends, things like that. So we were
Ooh,
at, like
stand out.
like
Yeah.
Man. See, like I wasn't in something as extreme as this book, but I knew people who were, but some of the specific things, like the psychological things got to me. Like one of the things that stood out to me is how they would talk about things like watching Star Wars movies being a matter of conscience. And they get you to like gaslight yourself into not
Mhm.
doing stuff.
It's the prison. That's what I think Going Clear, that documentary about Scientology, in the book too, that it's based on, captures well, is it's a prison of your own mind. That's the effectiveness of it, is that you are your own prison warden when you're
Yep.
looking
You
at
are,
this
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think it's an interesting book. If anything we've said entices you, I guess read it. Don't read it if you want a romance or any kind of sex scenes that you will enjoy or that will not make you want to die.
Especially the first one and the shower one. Those are the two that stand out
The
to me that I
shower
was like,
was
Which one did you say?
The
I said the
shower.
first one
Yes.
and like the
first
shower.
road
And
Yes.
Which one did I flag? There was one in particular that
I felt
That-
slightly nauseous while reading that.
Dude, I
was
had
like-
I said,
This
oh
is-
my God.
This is only one of 2 books that has ever made me nauseous. And the other one is where it's literally people eating live animals. So like that really says something about how disgusting I found those sex scenes.
Okay,
So,
I think
those people are
recommend
asking
it.
about the shower.
Oh.
The shower, she was like on her period, and it was a choice. I was
The
like,
way that
why?
it was talked about,
Yes.
it was the problem, not her being on her period. Like I don't want anyone watching to like think that we're like, ew, period sex.
No,
It
I
was
mean,
the way that it was discussed
it was weird.
And
was disgusting.
all of the mechanics of the shower sex too, where she was like bent over and like, and the thing is that with all of them, like the description, and it was like what the author
Yeah.
focused on. Because with romance, like I don't like, I want you to be like, make it nice for me. I don't want to hear about the blood rushing to your head and how you're dizzy while you're hanging over. And I was like, what is this?
It was really going for like realism, but on the gross end. I was
and like realism where like sex is never actually sexy, because like realism with sex can include it being sexy sometimes. Like I get that it's not.
Yes.
I get that there's weird moments and like it's not all that is always all sexy. But the whole reason you're having sex, hopefully, is because sometimes at least you find it a little bit
sexy. Yeah, this is like
sexy.
This is like this is almost entirely realistic, but the unsexy moment.
Yeah, like E.L. James. Well, but E.L. James, I think at least I believe that they are having a good time.
Y'all, you have to read this because I said I wouldn't recommend it. But you have to read it to understand how like jacked up that scene was. I just didn't understand. I said
this is like taking me back. I would recommend this because I want everybody to experience what I
not you want to traumatize everybody else around you.
I want you all to suffer as we have suffered.
Pass your trauma on.
Talk to me about it, please.
I have never read a romance book and like I love a good steamy scene. I've never read a book that had this level of steam and I'm literally disgusted. Like, I'm reading the book and I'm like,
it's rare.
It's very rare that I feel
and
that
I
way.
read monster and alien romance, okay? Like, and I'm
closest I have
felt gross.
Does anyone remember what chapter it is? If you want to go to the library and just read that scene,
shower scene.
I can look it up.
Wait, okay, I have a question. Do y'all think that it was intentional for us to be disgusted by their behavior?
No.
It has to be intentional. Like the most generous reading of this is that this was all on purpose. Like we were meant to be super uncomfortable with everything.
I don't think so. I didn't think that it was intentional. I don't think we were supposed. I think this is what I thought. I thought it was trying to be realistic. I think it was trying to I think it was going for realism, like to make it not a bodice ripper because it didn't want to be genre romance. It wanted to be like serious sex. That's what I think.
I hope I never have that.
It was 74.
It's not reality for Ashley.
It's not reality for me at all. Like I understand, like it's like the moments, like y'all said, like where it's not gonna be perfect. But I ain't never had no moments like that. It's just like
it's chapter 74 for anybody who's
to be in the shower, y'all. It felt so dry. It felt so dry. How are you in the shower and it feels dry?
Well, and like, okay, sorry, I just remembered that I flagged this. So I think that this was the moment where I realized that this was one of the saddest books I've ever read. A couple pages from the end, Corinne is saying to herself, Corinne wasn't good. She had never been good. There was a narrow path and she wasn't on it. There were sheep and goats. She was a goat. She was cast out. She was out of grace, out of favor. She didn't believe in soulmates. She didn't believe in souls. She didn't believe in heaven. That's literally how she's conceptualizing herself by the end of the book.
That's during her wedding.
That's how she is thinking about herself. Yes. And it's like, oh, but I'm going to marry him, so I'll be okay. This is the implication.
That's why
I'm. But that is one of the. It's one of the saddest things I've ever read.
This is done on purpose.
How do you write that? Literally, while the man of your dreams is saying your wedding vows, and think seriously that is romantic. It has to be done on purpose to make us uncomfortable. If not, I want to identify this author because I want them to get help. Yeah, and I mean that truly and honestly and seriously, because that is concerning to me that they wrote that in any way that would be like true and serious romance.
Yes, but that's the thing is I kind of think, I mean, like I agree with you that I think they probably should have given this to genuinely, I think they should have given this to their therapist, because at least what I came away from this was that it was not intentional. And I think that they just haven't worked through some of this stuff. Like to me, also the sex scenes read like somebody who is not fully in touch with their body and their own experience having sex. Yeah. And so that would also make sense for the wedding.
But I almost disembodied.
It's very disembodied.
But what's weird about that, about not being in touch with it, is that Corinne almost was. She read as if she was in touch with it at some points, because she was saying to him, I can't. Yes. I'm sorry, y'all. My parents and my child are like right out there, so I'm trying to. When she was saying like,
She can't get the magic to happen
But
unless she did it herself.
she did it herself. And so
Yeah.
for me, it was that kind of bit where it's like, okay, so you are aware that it's possible for women not to be able to with someone, and they may need to do it themselves.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
then-
where it got a little confusing for me, because it's like she was aware, but then at the same time not aware. I feel like somebody is pulling our leg and they just wrote this for giggles.
Well, the
That's
thing
why
is,
I think
here's the thing though, is that like if you grow up with that level of like sort of shame and purity culture associated with that, you know, with like self-love or whatever, like you can 100% disassociate yourself from it while you're doing that.
So all of these people saying that they're going to borrow the book and read chapter 74, I also want to add that, like, you might read it. I don't think anybody's going to read this and think, that's fine. Definitely not. That's fine. You guys will pick up what we're putting down. I don't think you will get the full horror of that moment unless you spent the last 74 chapters with these people.
Yeah. With Enoch Miller. Yeah.
Enoch.
And just keep that in mind. If you're going to read the single chapter, it's not good. You're not going to think it's good, but also put it, like, imagine
In context.
the horror.
Yeah.
Yes, in context.
Yeah. It's
that
gotta
she
be in
has been
context.
kicked out of this cult because of him, and now somehow she's back in like a twisted romantic relationship where somehow that's gonna like redeem it. Maybe this is redeeming love.
Did he ever say sorry, by the way? Did he ever actually
No, he did not. And she
He never
literally says, it
apologized.
makes it worse that you did this to someone you loved. Like, you're saying you love
And
me,
she
like
was
that's
waiting for an apology.
Yes.
And he never gave it.
And he will not.
He never gave it.
I also think one of the things that was the most like disconnected for me, like was the way that she talks about like how there are no good words for body parts. Like she can't use any of the words for any sort of intimate body parts, right?
Yeah.
And so at first I was like, that's like commentary on like purity culture. But the more that it kept happening, the more I'm like, this is that confusion of a character who is like in touch with their body but not in touch with their body. And the more that they both kept talking about how like they couldn't even name body parts, the more I was like, I don't know, that's that line of like, is this purposeful or is it not? I felt so trolled by this book.
I think it is. I think somebody wrote this for fun to confuse us. Because even think about when we were talking about in the chat not being able to figure out like what religion this is explicitly.
I have so many notes on that. So many notes.
Let's transition.
Also,
okay,
I also think that, because I don't think we'll talk about this. I don't think it was Stephenie Meyer, but I think someone wanted us to think it could be, because did you notice there are 2 references to imprinting on each other?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we move to the mystery solving portion of this live stream.
The mini magnifying.
The little mini one. We move to the mystery solving portion of tonight's discussion, because the entire reason we read this was that there is a conspiracy theory going around that this was written by Stephenie Meyer. So we have some experts on the writing of Stephenie Meyer here with us tonight to give their assessment. But if you don't know, Stephenie Meyer comes from Mormonism. I don't know if she's still in it or not. Yes.
She is.
Okay, at least externally. If this was her, then maybe she's, physically in, mentally out. But that's been sort of the rumor. But then because other people say this doesn't read like Stephenie Meyer, maybe it's somebody else who used to be religious. Like, we don't know. So this is what we're going to now talk about is, what religion do we think that this author came from? Who do we think this author could be? What are the clues? Get your red string out. Let's solve some mysteries here.
I think I want to start by saying that the fact that the bio says that this person is a pseudonym for a New York Times bestseller makes that that is a purposeful choice. If someone really wanted to write something anonymously, they would have put Rebecca Morrow lives in Kansas with her wife and 3 dogs or whatever. And that is anonymous. Like nobody would be like, who is Rebecca Morrow? It would just be an anonymous author. The fact that they put that there makes it, to me, a choice. And it makes me feel like that is like a marketing thing in some way. Or like, I don't know, it puts the question of like, what is the purpose of this book? Even like it adds another layer to it, because like you want us to know that this is a pseudonym for somebody that adds something to me to like
Yeah.
what this book is doing or trying to do. So
Well, and added to that, I think it's interesting. There's an article from Book Riot where they went and looked at the Library of Congress posting.
I did that too.
And it's under Rebecca Morrow.
Yes.
So
that was the
like,
first thing I did when I saw this on TikTok, because I've solved other mysteries that way.
By LOCs, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they have it in bib records.
Yep. But it's Rebecca. So like
she made sure that like no one could figure it out that way, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think that the intention was because you think that this person is trying to separate from their other work because of shitty stuff that they have done, or because they don't want to have conversations with readers, have overlap with their different readers? Or do you think they're trying to work through something? Do you think that they are trying to just have some fun and fool around with people, or do you think they're actively trying to hide from their family?
I mean,
y'all know who I think wrote it.
Should we go around and say who we think wrote it?
I don't know.
Bethany doesn't want to commit herself fully to.
I don't want to commit myself. I'm like, I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it is an author who comes out of some kind of Pentecostal or like backwoods, extremely conservative evangelical church. I do not. The only thing I'll say is I don't think that this person is ex-Mormon. This doesn't read like ex-Mormon to me.
I agree.
I think
as a voracious consumer of ex-Mormon content.
The more I've thought about that,
even with what little I know about Mormonism, it doesn't add up. It's either a Jehovah's Witness or somebody who's fundy.
Also there are ways that this could be Jehovah's Witness with like the serial numbers filed off, but there are also specific like things about Jehovah's Witness that didn't show up here, including like Kingdom Hall, and like there's like an emphasis on like it had some of it here on like being saved and like the very narrow path through which you can be saved, which is different than like just evangelical, and like holidays not being mentioned and like celebrating holidays, like that wasn't a thing. So like that could have been removed to make it more generic, but also because those things weren't present, I didn't lean Jehovah's Witness because of that.
Yeah, it seemed like if it was a Jehovah's Witness, then it was somebody who was actively trying to confuse you and let you know that they were straddling the line of some of this is Jehovah's Witness stuff and some of this is just general fundy stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm like realizing as we were like trying to figure out is that like a lot of these fundamentalist religions just have a lot in common.
Yes.
There's like a
universality.
Yes, universal kind of quality to some of the things that were like taught, or some of the ways that people are trapped into sort of these things. So that was another thing that I was like, it could be any of these, honestly, at this point.
Yeah. Because like the elder thing, I know some people use that as why they think it's Mormon, but like I totally knew fundy congregations where people would refer to each other as elder or brother or whatever.
The church elders. But I know of others who did grow up going to church with having church elders and calling people brother and sister, using terms like cast out and bad association, even though those weren't used in my circles. They are used in Jehovah's Witness, but they are used in certain other fundy circles.
Yeah.
The one detail that I kept coming back to that felt like a very specific detail was the covering of the head for women to pray, specifically when they were even in like the privacy of their own homes, because that feels like a very like specific to a particular sort of religion or denomination sort of thing. I know multiple people do it, but like I asked my ex-Mormon friend, she said women don't cover their hair to pray like as Mormons.
No, I think they have to in the temple. I mean, I don't want to get too into it because I know some people think that's sacred, but yeah, it seems they do. There's some head covering, but I think it's only in the context of the temple.
Right, for certain like specific things and not in the home, which is why I went for a while Methodist. But there are also, as Mara pointed out when I was discussing my theories, like really fundy evangelical sort of sectors that like will also do that, like cover the hair to pray.
Yeah.
It felt like, I don't know, it seems more like of a choice kind of thing than like an enforced kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm struggling. Well, I don't know. Do you guys have specific people that you want to put forward as potentials? Because we had some in our chat.
Well, okay, maybe one thing to talk about is what are some of the parameters of things that would make somebody a more likely candidate, right? Because it's not just the religious background, it's also like age, because the childhood part of this is set in like the late 80s, early 90s. So assuming it's semi-autobiographical, you know, we're talking about somebody who's probably in their like
Early to mid 40s.
Late 30s, early mid 40s, something along those lines. Where it's set in the Midwest and it feels very Midwestern, so like, or middle America, so like most likely somebody who didn't grow up on the coast as much or spent some of their time somewhere in middle America is likely. There is a lot of talk of the main character being like fat and plain, and the
we didn't talk about that, but
and Enoch, we've talked about, is described as a box, but also he's like a big burly guy. So like I'm thinking probably the author's not super thin, but who knows? Like it's possible that, but like, so those are kind of some of the things. And I think I discovered through this there are a lot of authors who are very private about their personal lives and don't share very much.
Or as Rachel pointed out, too many of them that are not private about their lives at all, and we wish they would be.
That's true. And also this was published by St. Martin's Press, which is from Macmillan. So like, and Jodi Picoult blurbed it. So like, those are important things. Does this author know Jodi Picoult? Have they published through Macmillan? I mean, it's possible that they came over from a different publisher, but it's also probably more likely that they already were published by Macmillan.
Yeah.
So
for me, it just comes down to the intention. So if we're talking about a person who's trying to confuse and troll, I think that the person who would write this for that intention would be Rainbow Rowell.
I flagged. Somebody else said it. Somebody, apparently that is a theme on Goodreads.
But if the intention was not to do that, then I don't know. And I could see it being several authors who got together and used this as an opportunity to talk about things that they're talking about in a group chat.
So I've never read anything from that author, from Rainbow Rowell. Can somebody give me the rationale?
So she does publish, she has published through St. Martin's Press. It reads like the way she does dialogue. It also is she brings up a lot of like pop culture references like Star Wars. I don't think she writes a lot of sex scenes. So like I could see her.
If this is her, she should not in the future.
I could see her being like, well, I don't want to write sex scenes in my YA stuff.
Yeah. She's been blurred by Jodi before as well.
Yeah, she's been blurred by Jodi. So like she's from Nebraska, which is near, like this is set in Kansas, Arkansas. So
she's very private about most of her life. But one thing that is interesting that I was thinking about with her too is that she's talked about that her actual name is Rainbow because her mom was kind of hippie. And the mom in this story had gotten religious after having previously been kind of a hippie, like into new agey stuff. So I thought that was interesting.
Okay.
I did read like before she got more into, well, I guess she mostly was publishing YA. She did have a couple of adult romances. So Landline is one and Attachments is the other. I read both of those.
Landline is the one that St. Martin's published, so that's another adult novel. But
if you put like the sort of like talk heavy, discussion heavy, marriage in trouble sort of themes of Landline with the uncomfortable romance of attachments. It's that person could have written this book 100%. Attachments was like really, really almost creepy. It's like a guy who works in IT and he follows a woman.
Yes, I heard about this.
Mhm.
Like he's just reading the emails that she's sending to her friend, and he's like, ah. So it has that like creepy, like, is this a romance kind of vibe? So
Yeah.
thinking on it, Rainbow could have written this.
Okay, so that's a strong contender.
I'm seeing some people mention Coho, which could be interesting. I mean, she has been published from Macmillan. She has a religious background. She writes weird romances. I mean,
well, I was gonna say, now that I've only read one. I will say that I think that Colleen Hoover's writing is much blander than this. Like, I'm not saying I love the writing of this.
So I am
But I
justified in never picking up one of her books. If it was more bland than this, child.
Well, this at least like had something of a point of view in its writing, and Coho is just like, I don't know. At least the one I read, it was.
She is the kind. She is the kind of person who would write something like this and do it under an obvious
and think that it was romance.
Well, so
that too. Yeah.
I don't know who said that they'd never. Oh, I think it was Ashley who said they never read a romance scene that made them want to throw up. Rachel said it. I was like, I have, and it was Coho. Like her sex scenes are often sex scenes that I'm like, this is not romantic. Like, what is this?
No, it is the opposite. It's very, and you know what? It has some of the same transactional quality that this did, where like I'm thinking about in Verity, there's moments where especially the BJ scenes, there's some similarity there. I could maybe her like putting some extra time into her writing to make it.
I'm so glad I've never read Colleen Hoover.
My only hope with Coho is that she's already publishing not romances that are like abusive and like, I don't know, her level of shame is like down here. Why would you do this anonymously?
Yeah, that's my
worse than anything else you've
The bar is already low.
I love that your rationale is you have no shame, so why would you bother to do this?
Well, but this is exactly what Priscilla Coho would do it as a publicity stunt. I agree with that. She is totally the kind of person who would do something like this as a publicity.
But
she outsold the Bible.
Connected to it enough to make it pan out for her in a way that would be beneficial. So I don't see I just feel like Colleen would own it. Exactly.
Yeah, that's
she
fair.
really doesn't need a publicity stunt at this point. She is like at the peak, the height of her career.
She sold more copies in the Bible. She needs nothing else.
Yeah.
Okay, well I have like probably my most bonkers idea that I've come up with. I don't think this is actually the case, but if it were true, it would be not that one also, but that was what I was going to say. I wasn't gonna say that one, but that would also be a good one. Okay, I've had a couple of bonkers ideas, y'all. So I was like, let me look up like what are some best-selling books from Macmillan, like that hit the bestseller list, and was just like, who knows?
No. Great.
Okay, so like one was what is it? I can't even think of Ashley, what's the title of this one? The children's book? The
Pout Fish?
The Puff Fish. Whatever. Okay, there's somebody
Pout Fish.
Pout Fish.
Yeah.
So the woman the Pout Fish was a New York Times best-selling children's book, and like I was like, well,
wait, what is it? I've never even heard of it.
It's a picture book.
It's a cute picture book.
It's a cute picture book.
When Bethany put that in the chat, I was like, no.
So wait, there's no other context. It's just published by Macmillan.
The author is the right age and is from Middle America, and we don't know much else about her.
I was so disturbed. I said, "Oh no!"
Okay,
don't.
But
there was
something more to it that happened.
How
That's me scouring like the cookbook authors being like, it's you.
You're the one. I mean, she probably wouldn't want to use the same name.
Yeah, that is a fact. Oh my god.
Okay, no, but like my other idea, which I also
Very
think
hungry
is match.
caterpillar author.
Not Eric Carl. He's dead. Don't do that.
This is the manuscript he left behind.
Oh my god.
Ashley said he's dead. Don't do that.
Listen, I don't think it's like true, but here's my other thought. I also think this is unlikely, but it would be wild if it was true. So, another best-selling author from them is Karen Kingsbury, who is a big Christian
That would be
Sunday author.
scandalous if that was
Listen,
true.
And I mean,
No.
she even she also teaches classes at like Liberty University and
Yes.
is like she's like a big fundy person. And I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
I'm like, can you imagine? I mean, she would hella
Lori
use a
Wick.
pseudonym.
I would eat that shit up if that were true.
Oh, I love
If it's
that.
Karen Kingsbury.
Y'all
If it's Karen
listen.
Kingsbury, it does.
Can I?
6 stars.
I'm gonna tell y'all something right now. As a youth collections person, y'all are screwing up everything in my head right now because now I'm gonna go back to work like, ooh, look, the Baxter Kids book just came out. Look at Karen. That's a shame. Look at that book that you wrote for adults. That's a mess. Then the Pout Fish, Eric Carl. What are y'all stop talking about kids' books?
You're like looking at. You're just looking at everyone like that's a Macmillan one. Could be.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Who knows?
Oh my god.
She's gonna be annotating pout fish, looking for clues.
Really, but no. Now I want to go check it out and be like, wait, hold up.
I mean, we
Is there
talked
an
about
Enoch
those lips,
Miller
you know.
Is there like a sexy blockfish in there?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
pout fish could be described as a sexy blockfish. I could see that.
With
There you
large
go.
lips.
We could with
Yes.
large yes, with large lips.
You know.
Wait,
This
so
is-
are we saying that Corinne was pout fish fanfic?
Can y'all please stop? I still have to hand these books to children. Please stop.
Oh my god.
Please don't do this to me.
Oh, man.
Oh man. Pout truther. Oh, I will say that the Karen Kingsbury theory is my favorite in the sense
Juicy.
of
Juicy.
that is so juicy. That is so
I mean, it would
messy, and I
be.
love it.
Yeah. I don't know how likely that is, but it would be very juicy.
And it does have like the lack of inner work that I would expect from somebody living a double life, like teaching at Liberty by day, and
Writing Corinne by night. Yeah, I mean, honestly.
Y'all are gonna ruin Karen Kingsbury.
Well, also, but listen, like the former president of Liberty University, him and his wife are the ones that secretly
We're
had
swinging
that pool boy
with the
that
pool
they were
boy.
swinging with. Like,
Yep.
I'm just saying, like,
Double lives happening. that
double
with the-
lives.
Yeah.
Prevalent
Who was
there,
the politician that just got caught doing that too?
which
So.
one?
Oh, it was probably him.
Name one.
The Instagram comments leaving
Oh,
like emojis.
my lieutenant governor, Randy McNally.
Yes, that's what this.
While he's supporting banning drag, he's leaving saucy
Fire.
comments on young
Fire
men's IGs.
Who even taught him how to use those emojis?
Oh
Yeah.
God! I mean, Tennessee is just an embarrassment all around
They
these
said
days.
Papa
but he's
was
one.
having fun with his phone. Papa was having a lot of fun.
Oh,
Grampy, someone taught Grampy how to access the emoticon keyboard, and it's no one's safe now. Oh, whew. I know that well, actually, we haven't even addressed the whole thing behind this. Why do you think people thought this was Stephenie Meyer?
I think
I
when
think
people
one
think
person said
Fundy,
it. Sorry.
and
Because
two,
she's-
when they think Fundy, Mormon, like that instant. But I think too, it's easy to make that it's easy to make that assumption based on how this book is described to people without having read it.
Yeah.
I think I would have gone the same direction until I actually read the book, and I was like, no, it's just too many other elements that are woven into the text. And I think that Stephenie Meyer is the most obvious. And like you said earlier, I think that's intentional. I don't think that was without purpose. That now I want to know, is Stephenie Meyer in on it and willingly taking that L? Did she get a cut?
I'm telling you, there's a group chat behind this. There is a group chat behind this. I'm telling you what, I know it. I feel it. And I want in.
Compelling but bad sounds like Stephenie.
There's no way Stephenie Meyer wrote this.
I don't think she wrote it, but I would not, like, when you had said that earlier, Rachel, I was like, I would, this feels like it could be a group effort.
I'm telling you what, it's a group chat.
I mean, honestly, a lot of them are friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the thing. Well, or Ashley, we didn't even talk about your other theory.
Okay, so I had two that I was going with. First of all, I think Jody wrote the dang on book.
And then blurbed her own book.
Which you're right. Love that. That's a move that
Diabolical.
Jody. That's a move, and the only reason why I had put Jody out there is because for me it was looking for whoever Jody would have connections to, because I don't think that you're just gonna, you don't know who this person is, you don't know what this book is about. Your publisher comes and says, "Hey, can you blurb this book?" It's kind of, Jody has to know something at some point.
Jody is a key.
She is a key, but she's close to a lot of names that we threw out. She is close. Ellen Hildebrand was thrown out because apparently in the past, Ellen Hildebrand has written a short story that has a main character named Corinne that has the same hair color as Corinne's hair in this book. But also, her and Jody are like this. But I mean, that's the same thing with Rainbow Rowell, though. Jody has blurbed her book. So it's I don't know. My thing with Jody, where I went with Jody, is because I did not know until I just started reading random stuff about Jody today, is that she's very into religion. Very into religion. And for every book that Jody has written, she inserts herself into the actual experience of the people that she's writing about, or she interviews people. And so that's why I was like, maybe she didn't write the whole thing, but Jody is in on this. And that's when Rachel dropped in and was like, it's a group effort. I said, it's not that much of a stretch for me to believe that. It just was reading about how she came up with each one of her ideas for her books. Like she went and she spent time at a prison, like actually stayed at the prison when she was it an Amish community that she wrote with? Or that she went and spent time with. It's just how much she inserts herself into people's experiences to get the best research that she can possibly get. And she can write it as realistic as possible. I don't know. I could be stretching with that, but Jody for me is a contender as well.
I agree.
I do love the idea of her blurbing herself. That would be true.
I don't put it
genuinely
past her.
iconic.
There was a drama that happened. Was it? Oh man, I don't want to put out a name and be wrong, but I think it was Christina Lauren who recommended a book, and then it turned out that they one half of Christina Lauren wrote it under a pseudonym.
I think I remember
and
that.
People were like, "You can't do that." And they were like, "This is the best book ever." And
we love it.
This is
same vibe.
Interesting. Shannon Hill publishes with Macmillan, is friendly with Jodi Picoult. Well, she's also friends with Stephenie Meyer and is around the right age, has distanced herself from the Mormon church and supportive
Hildebrand.
Yeah. They all got a group chat going.
Same circle.
So have you seen those videos, the Iceberg Explained? That genre of YouTube video? That's what I feel like we're doing right now. It's it shows you the top above the surface is the most easy explanation. That's Stephenie Meyer. And then we're just getting deeper down into the iceberg. And now we're it's a entire cabal of ex-Fundy writers who have published with Macmillan before, who are all together Rebecca Morrow.
And my
But they're
thing
all
is,
connected.
what clues did we miss inside the book? I'm sad to think about all the things that I didn't pick up on, and I am almost tempted to read it again, but not quite enough.
Yeah, I don't know.
I kind of want to skim. I listened to this on audiobook. I kind of want to skim a physical copy just to look at the actual like words or whatnot. I don't think this was Stephenie Meyer. I think it has some Stephenie Meyer hallmarks like repetitive writing and some of like the awkwardness around sex. Yeah, that's her too. But Stephenie Meyer's sentences are like clown cars. She packs so much in, and with a complete lack of respect for punctuation or the English language. You can see that.
Why are you dragging this woman from filth right now?
From a mile away. So I don't think Stephenie Meyer wrote this. But I would like to like scan the words and see if there's anything else that I do see.
This is right.
Yeah.
That was like, considering that you were saying Stephenie Meyer is not your pick, you just dragged her for filth.
Dragged her for filth. Dragged her for filth.
You know,
Yeah. Well, then Rachel, you were also posting that like Jody blurbed Hannah Witten's book, and Hannah Witten is ex-Fundy, but she's a little on the young side for this. She's like 31, I think, or something.
Oh, I thought she was younger than that. Never mind, then she's a contender. I'm 31. I'm 31. I related way too much to this stuff. Like,
listen,
Trauma
I'm with Rachel. I'm with Rachel on this one. I think this was a group effort. I don't think that this is one person.
I swear
I don't think it's one person.
I am team one person because it will absolutely just like destroy my entire worldview of like humanity being good if more than one person wrote this book. If more than one person put effort into this book and this is what we got, I quit reading.
I'm gonna need you to get used to disappointment.
I can't accept it. I have to have faith in humanity to a certain level, and I can't accept. Multiple people were like, "Yeah."
There's a lot of therapists with a lot of work to do.
I literally want to go and pull this bib record.
Okay, here's a theory. What if it's a group effort, but we have authors at like farther in their careers with newer authors who feel like they can't say something if it's bad, you know? Like, what if it was a small group that like felt like they couldn't tell the other people that they didn't like their work?
I hope everyone's got their tinfoil hats ready to rumble here. We're just getting deep into this conspiracy.
Juicy. And then they have Jodi Picoult blurb it. Juicy.
Oh my god. There's some other ones that came up here.
One and only guess. I will say that the only guess that I put, and it was because all the good ones were taken because I read this last. But I don't think it's this person. But as I was reading, the only writing that I was really reminded of was actually Otessa Moshfegh's, because Otessa Moshfegh also really hates the human body. And
wants to repulse her reader.
Yes. And I had felt last time I remember being that like vividly disgusted by like descriptions of the body, and especially like ones that lean fat phobic. That is such an Otessa Moshfegh thing. I did a quick Google to see if she had like a religious background, and I found this really weird fucking article that was like about, it was such a weird article about Otessa, like it was like kind of like that Brandon Sanderson one where it was like Brandon Sanderson is your god. It was like that, but like about her. And I was like, I can't read any more about this.
Clicking off.
I don't think it's her, but that's really the only author I was reminded of when I was reading like the actual descriptions.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Somebody said Emily Duncan, which yeah.
Please don't make me drag her for filth from librarian to librarian, because I will drag her from here to Kingdom Come.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
Let's not even bring her up.
She is personally offended, Ashley, on behalf of her profession.
I am.
I doubt it's her.
The writing doesn't. I read 2 of Emily Duncan's books, and the writing doesn't feel like Emily.
Yeah, it
I
didn't
don't
super
think the
remind
writing-
me of what I had read from her.
Of all the people that we've named, though, she is the most likely to have to use a pen name.
That would explain the pen name.
Yeah.
I got a comment the other day from somebody who was like, I'm sitting here watching your videos and I work at a library and I'm always talking to my coworker, and then all of a sudden I realized that my coworker is the person in your video because I work with Emily Duncan, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna.
No, you know what? You know what? Serves her right. Serves her right.
I was just like, send that video to her coworkers, to her family,
Serves
to
her
her
right. The audacity of her, and got the audacity to be working with children. Let me mute myself. I'm looking at something right now.
Oh my god. Okay, the other theory was Adrienne Young. I guess that came up in the Book Riot article. I've not read anything from them.
Nothing.
I haven't either. So I just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're no one is safe tonight. No one who's ever published with Macmillan is safe from us tonight.
If you have had a best-selling book, you're on the chopping block.
Be it a picture book, be it a cookbook,
Poor Propelfish.
a how to fix your car manual. No one is safe. Oh my god. Well, so I think it's safe to say that none of us think it's Stephenie Meyer.
No.
And I think we've landed on that it's a cabal. There's a very dark group chat filled with people who have had deeply unpleasant sex their entire lives.
It's dark. I want in. Are you kidding? Let me in.
And Jodi Picoult either wrote it or is in on it.
Yeah, she didn't want to. Yeah. She
Yeah.
is the key. Like, I think if we could talk to Jodi Picoult, if we could get like an off the record interview, I think we could crack this mystery wide open. But
Jodi's the key, I'm telling you.
yeah.
You know what we really need to do is figure out who was the publicist for Corinne.
It doesn't have acknowledgments or anything in the back.
I
right?
know.
Nothing. I was combing for clues.
No.
I saw somebody say that they read an ARC copy from NetGalley and it said acknowledgments to come, and then there wasn't any in the finished one.
Mm.
So that's interesting.
Oh, somebody also said April Lynn Hike, who I've never heard of.
Neither have I.
Me neither.
Could be Stephen King. He does write deeply unpleasant sex scenes, so that would check.
Somebody asked earlier if we think it like the truth will ever come out about like who this author is.
Again,
Maybe.
it goes to their intention for writing it, and without knowing their intention, I can't say.
I think so. I think the person who mentioned it mentioned how J.K. Rowling couldn't keep Robert Galbraith under wraps. But the Cormoran Strike novels were really successful, and I think at some point they even got like analyzed like by like a forensic analyst like went in and was like, "This is most likely J.K. Rowling." I don't think anybody's not interested in Corinne. It
didn't do well enough, I think, for that.
I don't think so. For like people to like really dig deep into who this might be. But
Yeah, I think that that whoever this was probably hoping that it would get more attention and more people trying to do like a Sherlock Holmes and figure out who it wrote it. And it didn't take off like that, as far as I can tell.
It would be interesting. I didn't do this, and also TikTok makes it very difficult to go back and find the origins of something, but it would be interesting to see who the first poster of the conspiracy on TikTok was.
Oh my
God. Are they a mole?
Right.
no.
Well, I know somebody who was early who I follow who read it because of the conspiracy, and she also didn't think it was Stephenie Meyer.
Same. And I wonder where she heard about it. And then I would like to know who originally put out that rumor, because that would say a lot. Because if that was an intentional thing,
was the one that I saw.
Yeah,
that was, like,
same.
artist.
Yeah.
Who was it?
Yeah,
The
the cool
cool table.
table.
Yeah, cool table.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
'Cause
Okay,
she's
we'll put her
she's
picture up on the red
also
springboard.
because she's also ex-evangelical, so she like hers. Yeah,
It went with her
it's
brand.
interesting. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's interesting.
Well, we may never know for sure, but I think hopefully we've made it so that Ashley can never shelf another book in peace. And I think that we've uncovered a pretty deep conspiracy here today, guys.
I think so.
And
Maybe one day it will be revealed.
yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would recommend. I don't know if I would recommend this. It did hold my attention, which is more than I can say for most books, or not for a lot of books anyway.
Will
would
Rebecca
recommend it.
Morrow write another book?
Wait, what? There are 2 books listed for her on Goodreads? Oh, wait,
What?
hold on. What?
Ooh,
Is there a sequel?
Oh, let's look this up.
No, I think the way Goodreads did that is that name has been used, because I'm on the back end right now looking at Bib Records, and
Oh.
that name also pops up whenever you search for Bib Records for library cataloging as a person who's been doing writing since the 2010s. So I don't think there's any, it's more academic related stuff.
Oh,
It's
wait,
safe
wait,
water,
wait.
sanitation, and early childhood malnutrition in East Africa. An African feminist analysis of the lives of women in Kenya,
but-
Tanzania,
Yeah,
and Uganda.
but look below it. It says, "Hello, these books are not mine. They were written by an author with the same name." Rebecca Morrow joined the Goodreads librarians. So yeah, so somebody shelved it, but that's not.
A Goodreads librarian done fucked up.
There's a Spotify playlist.
Yeah, what's this?
Oh, I haven't even looked at this.
No.
What?
Did anybody see if there's any other social media for anybody under Rebecca Morrow?
No. Let me at least share this so people can see. No, I didn't even think to do that. Chrome tab.
Man.
What?
Okay, so this is
interesting.
This is the Spotify playlist.
Oh. I
It
didn't
has to
even
be
know
in
this
there.
existed. What?
There's clues. There's clues in there. I know there is.
Yeah.
Did anybody think to see what else the narrator of the audiobook, what else they've done?
Yeah. I forget. I was actually looking to see if she had done any by Rainbow Roll, and I didn't see that she did. But that's as far as I got.
Wait, the second book of Corinne?
What?
Is there a sequel coming out?
What?
Is it called Corinne Part 2, the Pout Pout?
When I was done dying, maybe the writing's on the wall? What?
Oh, is this them getting a divorce when she gets pregnant and he starts trying to convert their child?
Maybe. I need my girl. I bet that is. He tries to take their kid or something and they get, oh man.
This is juicy.
This is so juicy.
Corinne's electric boogaloo.
Yeah.
This is wild.
Now, if this is what happens in the next one and it becomes a psycho spiritual horror thriller,
I would be up for this.
That I would be into.
Okay, I'm gonna look up the audio narrator. Y'all,
that was dark.
This is wild.
Ah, okay, man, you guys, the plot thickens.
Okay. Oh, interesting. So the first thing that comes up for the narrator is The Soulmate by Sally Hepworth.
They have narrated multiple Sally Hepworth novels.
Which I literally just finished reading a Sally Hepworth novel tonight.
Yeah.
Is it a
lot of Nora
coincidence?
stuff too?
A lot of thrillers, it looks like.
They also do the Dragonheart series by Nora Roberts.
Yeah, so Nora
which is
stuff. Yep.
Garbage.
Interesting. Oh,
You know, I love Nora,
Ariadne by Jennifer Sate. Oh, Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins.
Yeah. So some thrillers. Those are Macmillan titles, so
yeah,
that makes sense.
That's interesting.
Oh, good point. Heartbones was on that playlist and is also a Colleen Hoover book.
Oh. They're saying Rainbow Rowell does playlists for her books a lot.
That feels very Rainbow Rowell to me. I say this as if I'm like a huge Rainbow Rowell connoisseur. I've literally read 1.5 books by her. I read her graphic novel and I DNF'd Fangirl because it was terrible.
Okay, you know what's interesting about maybe the idea of this all being intentional is that the final song on that first playlist is titled "Hey, That's No Way to Say Goodbye."
Wow. I imagine that this either collective or singular person is watching this like, yes, finally.
This is so interesting.
Ashley, did you find something? Okay, maybe not. I saw.
No, I know, but you ever feel like you're like on the cusp of something and you're like,
like it's all coming together.
This is the scene in the movie where it's like they have all the windows that are reflecting in the glasses as they're researching on their laptop.
No, it's that hilarious scene from Sherlock where he's like mind processing all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He like
actually is under Mind Palace. Oh my god.
Oh, that's interesting. There's actually 2 versions of "Hey, That's No Way to Say Goodbye" on the playlist. Track 4 by one person and then track 19 by another.
What?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
I don't know.
What does it mean?
I wonder how many NDAs had to be signed for all of this.
That's what I was wondering. How many NDAs and who?
How many NDAs had to be signed?
Who do we know it would happen? Who do we know?
Liv, you're totally right. We're in a Dan Brown book right now, guys. Brace yourself.
I think it probably
the Pope
does.
and his squad are about to
that has
through our
a
window.
double theme to it because those are also about religion.
Exactly. Maybe it's Dan Brown.
It's Dan Brown. We did it. We did it.
Dan Brown would.
So
write
I think
these
the
sections.
Rebecca Morrow that joined the Goodreads librarians group, though, might be the other Rebecca Morrow.
Oh, who's like, hey, don't associate my serious scholarly work with this trash.
Right, like I didn't write this.
The Pope is about to bust through. Young hot Pope.
Although actually it might be the new one who's saying these books aren't mine.
Wait, what?
No, it might be the new Rebecca Morrow saying these books are not mine, written by an author. That probably makes sense because this was like January 2022. And then in January 2023, she joined the Goodreads librarian group. This is so
all I'm saying is I think if you ever have a question you need solved, this is the Scooby Gang you need on it because we're getting deep here. We've been in Reddit threads. We've been reading articles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got our mystery machine ready to roll up on this.
I honestly think if we ever find out the truth, it will be someone we named here.
100%.
Yeah.
I think, if somebody I'm just putting this out there, don't harass anyone. But if anyone's at a con and Jodi Picoult happens to be there, maybe bring this book up and just tell us what look she gets in her eyes or on her face.
Yeah.
Because she is the key.
I am not above DMing her and just being like, so what do you know?
But she has to know. She's the key.
She
is a key to this.
Just let me know if you know. Do you know?
Just blink twice.
Okay, so yeah. Also, Mari, seriously though, the Spotify playlist, I'm changing my stance. I think maybe the sex scenes were intended to be gross, and maybe this was all intentional. I'm kind of thinking this was intentional now, which makes me like the book better.
That's what I'm saying. That's
2.5.
Yeah.
If it's disgusting on purpose, it's a 2.5. If it's not self-aware, it's a 1.
If it's a romance, it's a negative 2,000.
Oh, yeah.
Because as a romance, this is the worst romance I've ever read.
But as like a spiritual horror, I think that this is like a 3 stars.
Which is why I gave it 3.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know that I liked this, but
It did a thing. It
it
did
did
a
something.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It made me feel things. I had a lot of feelings.
Same.
Just look at chapter 74. The feelings that an entire book would give me, I got in one chapter.
Somebody made a playlist on Spotify of all the secular music mentioned in this book.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it actually has the cover of it says Stephenie Meyer ruined my life, and it crossed out Stephenie Meyer and wrote Rebecca Morrow.
Who follows the playlist? Anybody? Can you
Jody Pico?
Jody people, right?
We
Oh,
also
yeah, there's,
swap
like,
out
Rainbow
fits,
Rao?
actually.
Would you,
I
Rachel,
don't-
would you give Jody a pass to your review space in exchange for this information?
I would.
Okay. Just Jody, we're putting it out there.
Jody, I'll never do an author's behaving badly on you no matter what you do if you just give me the information I want to know.
Okay, so there's, how can you tell who follows, like,
Oh, Corinne is a town in Utah founded by anti-Mormons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had heard that. Yeah.
Ashley's like, that was 4 Reddit pages ago. I'm way
Yeah.
past that.
Yeah. This is so interesting.
Man. Okay, well,
Well,
you guys,
and
we may. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I also was thinking about, like, one of my thoughts when I wasn't sure if it was Stephenie Meyer with the name Rebecca Morrow is, like, I don't know. It's like Morrow kind of goes with some of the time stuff of the Twilight Saga, but maybe that was intentional.
Yeah, what is the significance of, you know what, people are going to start studying this text the way they do House of Leaves or S.
That's what they want. That's what they wanted.
I think that's what they
Listen.
that's what they want.
These reviews, I just put in Rebecca Morrow as a hashtag on Instagram. I'm just like mind blown by the reviews that I'm seeing. Like,
People loving the
the
romance.
spicy scenes
Stop.
were so well described.
Stop it.
4
Stop it.
stars.
No.
5 stars.
Who hurt you? What is going on in your life?
life?
Oh no.
God.
You know, but
This is
that's
why
why
I
I
don't
react to calling movies as
Somebody
well.
forced me to
that's
think
true.
about the relationship between religion and femininity and faith.
I mean,
Pick
that's
this one up for a unique story of a reckoning of faith.
Unique used in the absolute worst possible way. Like the most disingenuous use of unique. No.
yeah, that's at least like in the realm of reasonable. Anybody who's like, ooh, the sex scenes in this, like, what?
No. No.
Get
Somebody said
help.
it's three chili peppers for spice. Spice?
What spice?
What spice?
I think people don't understand that on-page sex is not the
It's
same
not
as spice.
spice. Yeah.
It's not spice.
No.
See Verity for an example. Not spice, just sex.
Okay, so like all of this is making me feel like it might be a collaborative effort.
Stop.
Oh my gosh. I refuse.
This is where we're
I'm
at.
done.
But I am kind of convinced that this is some kind of collaboration.
Yeah.
Now the question is how many. Yeah. What one person contains this in their minds?
I'm less convinced it's Rainbow Rowell because I don't know that she would do that kind of thing. I don't know that she would do something quite like this intentionally. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. But
If it's one person, I think it might be Rainbow Rowell, but I'm convinced it's a group effort. I'm convinced it's a group effort.
This comment really made me laugh. But it really wrestles my
jimmies.
I don't know what that means. Made me laugh.
I feel like it's probably supposed to be an intentional name though. I mean, Rebecca is definitely a biblical name.
Yeah. And Morrow
yeah.
maybe like new Morrows, like moving on.
Yeah.
I think
What's the biggest mystery, this book or Cain's jawbone? Cain's jawbone, at least we know, has a solution, whereas this is a mystery that may never be solved. So do with that what you will.
A lot modern day Romeo and Juliet. Also,
there is a Twitter under the name Rebecca Morrow, Words of Morrow, and it's like an author, but the bio is dreamer of worlds, writer of stories, reader of all things fantasy. I don't think this is the person we're looking for.
I also had found like a YouTube channel.
Also, it's UK. Yeah,
UK.
This is American AF.
Yeah, it's very American.
For better or worse. This is American. We have wrought this.
God,
we can't blame this on anyone else.
I wish that saying, "Oh, this is definitely written by somebody from the U.S." narrowed it down whatsoever.
No,
unfortunately, it doesn't.
No. Yeah.
Somebody
We can't
from
blame
either
anyone else
St.
for
Martin's or somebody from this crew know that this live was happening.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way. This is ridiculous.
St. Martin's, Macmillan. If you work there and you'd like to be an anonymous source, I will respect your anonymity if you want to
100%.
Send us a tip. Anyone knows Jody Pickle?
Jody, message me.
Let us know.
Jody, come on.
We know you know, Jody.
Jody knows.
Please.
I don't care what nobody says. Jody
Somebody's like,
exactly
what if Rebecca is in the room right now?
It might be. Might be.
She's watching. They're watching with popcorn and just watching us dance. Dance.
You know what I feel like? I feel like we're all the girls from Pretty Little Liars, and we're looking for A.
A A is watching us.
The thought I had a lot while reading this is that I wish that this had been better. Like, I want a book to do what this was trying to do, but better. So what we're really getting to is that we need to be the collective that writes the better version of it.
What will we call ours, and who will be our Enoch Miller? What will our Enoch Miller
one
be
of us
called?
is blurbing it is the real Jody. Do we ask Jody?
We should ask.
We should reach out to Jody for a blurb.
Yeah.
I think we could do it better, honestly.
I think we could.
And I think that there was potential. Like, I want to see this idea done better.
Yeah, that's why in my Goodreads review, I basically said I kind of wish this was nonfiction instead of fiction, in the sense of the ideas in this are interesting.
Yeah.
And I would have read a memoir or something about this more happily than I read this.
Yeah.
But
okay.
It would make sense if it was a memoir written by somebody who was talking about their real experiences and wanted to go under a pseudonym. The intention would make sense there.
Mm-hmm.
This whole thing does not make sense. I can't parse out what the intention is.
I have a question. There's somewhere, isn't there something in here about somebody not wanting to go to Phoenix or something? Is it Phoenix or is it somewhere else? There's a city that somebody in the book at one point was I don't didn't want to move to.
No. Enoch didn't want to move to his family. Wasn't it Arkansas?
Was it Arkansas?
Yeah.
Or was it Kansas?
No, they were in Kansas.
Okay.
They were in Kansas.
His family was in, I don't know where. And they wanted him to move back over there, and he said that he didn't want to.
I'm just trying to remember what city it was, because...
Have any of them lived in that city?
Well,
and
so
are they documented having bad experiences?
Okay, because here's this. I mean, if I was going to be super conspiracy theory of because House of Leaves, because we mentioned that, it used real world things as Easter eggs in the book. Anyway, the reason I'm asking is I googled Rebecca Morrow, and if you go down to places on the map, there is a Rebecca Morrow physician assistant living in Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm what if it was mentioned?
Bethany is stalking people's LinkedIns. Random civilians are not safe from Bethany.
Listen, it's because it's on the main Google page on the maps, the map pops up and whatever. And I was what if it was using actual,
Listen, when we release our version of this book and it's written by
Pout Pout Fish.
I will never forgive y'all for that.
What's Rebecca?
I will never.
In the Bible, Leah. We're gonna under the pseudonym Leah today. We're gonna.
I'm done. I'm done.
a little more fancy, like Leah yesteryear.
Sarai Anon. Sorry, Ashley, what were you saying?
Oh, I said I was never going to let go of the fact that you brought Errol Carl into this.
I'm sorry. R.I.P. I'm sure he was a lovely man. I'm sure.
That poor baby.
Oh my God. Well,
I've got to stop.
You're deep. You're on the verge. We may have to do a part 2 if and when
any
comes out.
Information comes out.
Yeah, or if we get more information. Like I said, tip line is I hope we get a sequel. We are doing a sequel live stream.
Yeah, 100%.
The tip line's open. If there's any, we will protect your anonymity. Please let us know.
Jody,
you have a contact to McMillan or Jody.
Slide into our DMs.
We're ready.
I'm really good at keeping secrets. I've never told anybody about my source on Sarah J. Maas being the worst. So. Jody, reach out.
It was Jody. That's as we get off this, and Mari's like, so Jody Pico has been giving me all the tea about Sarah J. Maas. But yes, well, I appreciate you guys coming on, sharing your religious trauma, sharing your sleuthing skills and your erudition when it comes to this fascinating book. Please check everyone out. I've got them linked below. And happy Good Friday. I feel like this was an appropriate Easter weekend stream.
Amen, sister.
Yeah. The peace of the Lord be with you.
He is risen indeed.
He is risen indeed. Happy Easter, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye.